Thanks everyone for joining the Whiteboard.chat basic features webinar. My name is Sid and I have my colleague Pawan Oberoi who's also joined this call. I will start sharing my screen here in a second. And the typical format that we follow is I go over a couple of slides just introducing our company and our features. I hope you can see my slides and not my big screen. Pawan, can you just confirm please?
Yeah, I can see your slide.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. And so, yeah, we'll just go a couple of slides and then I will directly dive into our platform. We'll try and focus mainly on the basic features so that it's a good introduction for all the teachers on how to get started. And we take questions on the Zoom chat window. So if you could type in your questions on the Zoom chat window, I will periodically pause and Pawan will read out the questions and we'll try to answer those questions. And since it's a little bit of a smaller group, we can potentially open up the floor for everyone to just go off mute and ask questions towards the end of the webinar as well. Right? Thanks. Right. So Whiteboard.chat addresses a space which typically does not get covered by the learning management systems and the communication tools. And so as you can see on this slide, it's what our virtual class ecosystem now is beginning to look something like this, where your Canvas and Google Classrooms, Schoology, and now even Teams is starting to help teachers get organized, prepare their classroom materials, but they can get their grading and rosters and things like that on those systems. And then on the lower right, you see the communication tools, which helps you do the video conferencing, audio conferencing, and sharing your screen. But what has been missing so far has been the ability for teachers to observe what their students are doing. And that's what Whiteboard.chat tries to focus on. So when we started this platform, Pawan was the one who really started the initial implementation of Whiteboard.chat. And it was to address his own daughter's needs to learn piano online, right? So that's where it started. And we started getting a lot of features from teachers who were interested. And we took that very seriously. We took that to heart. And that's why we always say that this platform is teacher designed, because we took a lot of feedback from teachers. We provided exactly what they needed. And that's why you see many of the manipulatives that we provide mimic the actual classroom tools and materials that teachers use. And the marquee feature that helps Whiteboard.chat differentiate itself is this ability to observe and engage students. So when you prepare a classroom board, of course, it can have multiple pages, but when you prepare material on your board, each of the students, as you see on the right hand side or the left hand side, gets a copy of that board. So I will go ahead and mute so that you can see it still. Thank you. So all the students get a copy of the teacher's board and they can all individually work on their own boards. The students don't see each other's work, so there's no copying as such that they can do, unless the teacher chooses to have them work in a group, right? So the group boards are also possible. So the teacher can then join any of the students' boards and then give them real-time feedback, right? And so once the students realize that the teacher has real-time visibility onto what they're working on, that really helps them be more focused and engaged, right? Because they can no longer, even if they turn off their video cameras, right, which is what's happening a lot now in most of the online classrooms, is students to turn off their video camera and the teacher really doesn't have any idea what the students are working on. But with this platform, if the student stops working, the teacher can immediately see it. And there are some advanced features that also show how engaged the students can be. So that's just a quick highlight on where our adoption is. So we've been adopted all over the world. So the chart here you see on the right hand side shows you all the countries where Whiteboard.chat is being used. And so this is, I think, as latest as last month, but we've seen a huge uptake. And now, with a lot of classrooms now coming back online, it's going to be adopted even more. And now what we are seeing is that the teachers are also finding it very comfortable to use this even in person and even in hybrid environments. Right. As I said earlier, whiteboard.chat is entirely evolved because of teacher feedback. So we would love to hear what you think about the platform. If you run into any issues, do write to us at feedback@whiteboard.chat. And we are extremely responsive to any issue that you may have. We've also joined actual classrooms that may be going on and addressed any issues that teachers have run into. We have very busy Facebook and Instagram and Twitter channels. We have a very active Facebook group. I will paste the link of that in a little bit. It's called Teachers Using Whiteboard.chat. And teachers themselves are so engaged on that platform. They help us answer questions for many teachers and suggest various ways to use whiteboard.chat. Zipa Pawan has posted that Facebook group link if you'd like to go and see that later. So yeah, definitely engage with us on our feedback.whiteboard.chat email or even the Facebook channel, right? And we will post this video also of this recording later on our YouTube channel. Okay, so let's dive into the platform itself. Now, all you need to use whiteboard.chat is really any device that has a browser, and you just go to www.whiteboard.chat and you can get started. So you don't really need to download any application. You don't need to download any mobile app specifically. All that you need is a browser, and you just go to this website. There are ways for you to also address different instances. So for example, if you are using a whiteboard.chat from Asia, there's a asia.whiteboard.chat instance that is better for you to use because it's just closer to you and to you physically, and your latency will be better and your responsiveness will be much higher. Right, and there's a US West version as well, which can help any other teachers who are in the Pacific time zone. So to get started, all that you first do is click on Start Drawing. Now you can see a few different buttons here. There are two main modes in which you can use whiteboard.chat. One is the Start Collaborating mode, which is more like a typical whiteboard where all the participants are on a single whiteboard. Everybody gets the same set of tools and they can collaborate. So it's something easy to understand. The one that we specialize on, and which we will cover more in this webinar, is the teaching mode, where you can create, assign, and live teach individual student boards. And so that's where a teacher would enter in and start preparing the board. So we will go over all of these controls over the course of the webinar. And initially, this might seem a little overwhelming. So what we did very recently is that we added the ability to enable this. So if you go to the gear icon on the top left, so let me show you where I click here again on the top right, sorry. Click on settings, and there's a starter mode that you can enable. So if you enable the starter mode, it reduces the number of menu options so that it becomes a little bit easier to understand and for you to get more comfortable with using the platform. Right, so you won't have a huge number of options that will confuse you. So definitely go, and we recommend you try out the starter mode. Again, go to the top right on the settings, and you can enable that. So for the purpose of this webinar, of course, I will not be using the starter mode. I will show you the full-fledged, fully feature-rich version. Okay, so as you can see now, since we are on the settings panel, there's a huge number of options right here. You can also click on this drop down called More Settings and get in further the additional configurable options here. So definitely take a look at the various options that are out here. You can set your board size, you can set your default fonts, and a bunch of other things that we'll go over in the webinar in a second. All right, so let's get started. Now, just to navigate over the entire board. So what you see out here is the indicator that this is an instructor board. When students join this board, they will see a student board. So it helps identify which mode you're working in. Right? Students, of course, have a limited set of options compared to the teachers. Teachers have some additional tools. Now, the very first thing you typically would do is that you would name the board. So you could click on this and say, I'm going to create a place value chart board. Okay. Let me title that board here. Now, there are a few more options here. We'll go there in a second. So let's say I want to first prepare my assignment, right? Now, typically we always have our assignments in some PDF files that are already there, right? You may be normally either uploading them somewhere or taking a printout of them and giving to your students. So what we could do is we can take the same PDF files and upload them. So here's an option for uploading. And there's several different ways to upload here, but now we will just focus on the upload files from a computer. Now you can upload from Google Drive. You can upload with a linked PDF as well from a different website. So I have it already on my computer, so I'm going to upload files from my computer. Okay, go to my webinar link, and here's my place value chart PDF. So this uploads the PDF exactly as you see it on any PDF reader. And the really nice thing about it is that even if it's a multiple page PDF, it uploads one page per page of your whiteboard. So as you can see, there's a there's a whiteboard page control at the bottom left here. And if you go through that, this is a 3 page PDF. So it has uploaded one page of the PDF per whiteboard. So in some sense, your assignment is almost ready, right? You can have students already come in and start working on their assignment. And so you can, in addition to this, let's say you would like to annotate this saying that you please show all your work. So there are some text tools here. So I can just click and type. The students make sure that they use this white space to show their work. And let's say now you would like to invite your students and start working on the assignment. And so the teacher can click on the invite button on the top right here. Now there are different ways for you to invite students to your board as well. If they are joining using iPads and let's say you're sharing your screen on your classroom, they can point their iPad to this QR code and then directly join their board. So this navigates their iPads directly to the whiteboard.chat website and exactly to your board. The more common way that teachers use to invite students is they click on this button here to copy the invite link. Now you can paste that invite link into any of your learning management systems like Google Classroom or Teams, or even send it out by email. And then the students just click on that link and join. You can also have the ability to also directly post these links into Google Classroom, into Teams. And there's another option called Show Teacher, which is normally covered in an advanced webinar. Now, you might also see a little bit of a code here. So what students can also do is take a copy of this code and then go to whiteboard.chat, and they can, so let's say if I go to whiteboard.chat here, and you can see that there's a place for the students to enter the classroom code and join that. So that's another option that they can use for joining the boards. So let's say that I've copied this link. I'm going to open up incognito window. So this is going to be my pretend student. I'm going to paste that link here. And as you can see that it's important to know that the students have shared this join URL, and you should not be literally copying the URL from your browser here. So this board URL is typically your URL, the teacher's URL, and you don't want to share that with your students. So, sorry. So here's the student view again. In the meanwhile, let me also share this link with Pawan so he can join as another student. Okay. So here I'm going to join as student. So this is student app. All right. Now as you can see, the student sees exactly the same content that the teacher has assigned to them. And this is real time, so that now if the teacher adds any additional text, so for example, like the teacher wants to highlight this, let's say the teacher selects a different color. For example, let's say the teacher selects blue, and wants to highlight this with a line.
Arthritis.
Right? And as you can see, the students immediately sees the updated boards. Now, the students can continue working on their boards. So let's say that they see this example here, and now they're working on their assignment. So let's say the student wants to just type in letters here. So let's say they put in 3, and then 4, so on, right? And as you can see now, the teacher has this additional control called the grid view, which is along the bottom here. If you click on that grid view, that's the teacher can now see a tiled view of all the students' boards. Now here I just have my own board. This is the teacher's board. This is student Sam here. As you can see, the student Sam, and there's Pawan who's joined the board as well. Right. So now I can also do now Pawan's been doing a great job. So I can click on his board and I can see what the additional details of what he's been working on. I can even join his board and say, okay, I'd like to reward him something. So if you see on the right hand side, we have a few different options here called gizmos and widgets and so on, which we'll look at in a second. Let's say I go to gizmos. This gives you a huge option of manipulatives here. There's math symbols, there's those ways to reward your students. So let's say I go to the reward section and I say, okay, well done. So I'm able to place a little sticker on Pawan's board, and the student immediately gets to see that update as well. So let's say that I can go back to my instructor board. There's a go to instructor option. I can go to grid view, and let's say I join my student board so that I can show you the update. Now, as you might see, remember I had added the sticker by actually joining Pawan's board. But if let's say I'd like to provide add the feedback sticker to multiple student boards, I can click on this and click on the tile view as well, and this adds the well done sticker to my student board. And if I look at my student view, see my student view has also received this well done sticker. So it's a quick way for a teacher to provide feedback to the students, provide them encouragement, and show that you can really observe what the students are doing. Now, a few things that you may want to know about the grid view is that, of course, teachers have literally from anywhere from 5 to maybe even 100 students at a time in their classroom, and it gets a little bit difficult to manage this grid view. But we have a few different options for the grid view settings here as well. You can change the number of boards per row that you see here. So if you have fewer students, you can maybe reduce the number of boards if you'd like. So for example, now I just got 2 boards in each row, or I can increase it to have a additional number of boards, or increase the number of pages as well. You have the ability to also, let me move this out of the way, to also tag the boards itself. So you can specifically say that, okay, I've corrected this board and I'd like to come back to this later. I'd say, okay, or as I say, this one's working really well. So I can filter out boards using these tags. So I can say, show me only the boards which are corrected, for example. So this will automatically filter it and show me only those boards. So it just becomes easier for teachers to manage boards when they have a huge number of students. Any questions so far, Pawan?
Yes, I had one question. How does a student see to know that when you're on their board?
I see. So if you see the student board, let me see if I join. I think it's go to my, oops, sorry. Clicked on the wrong button here. Let me join the students board. All right, so now, as you can see on the student board, if the student sees the participants panel up here on the top right and clicks on it, the student can see whether or not you have joined. So I think my teacher got the system picked up a random name from my teacher role. So it just picked up a name called Gloomy Picasso. I didn't name that, but it just randomly picks up some name sometimes. And you can assign the name as well. So for example, I'll show you how to assign that name in a second. But student Sam is this board, and the teacher, and if the student Sam sees the instructor on this board, that means if the student he or she can know that the teacher is on that board, right? Any other questions, Paul?
No, that's it.
Right, so I'm going to leave the student board and go back to the instructor board. Right, so I showed you the basic tools to prepare some material, invite your students, have them work on the assignment, and then give them some feedback. So let's take now a closer look at some of the options that you have to compose your board. Now, if you click on the hamburger menu up here, the 3-line menu, you get a little bit more text description of each of these tools. So you have a bunch of drawing tools out here, which you can, this is just a freehand click and draw mechanism. You have the ability to draw lines, which I just showed you. You can even have fancy lines in terms of arrows. You can also create double arrows and then shapes. That you have multiple types of shapes in the form of standard things like circles, and you can even draw these shapes in a little bit more of an even format. So for example, if you pick shapes, and if I say I'd like to draw a rectangle, now if I click on one corner and then drag it, I can get a rectangle. But if I want a square, I can click on one side and then click on shift and then move it around. I get a perfect square. Similar tools work, similar shift operation also works for circles. And I see a few questions, maybe I can answer that. After grid view, how do I know the teacher's screen on the page that I was on? Yeah, so if I'm on the grid view, so let me go back to that. I'll just demonstrate that right away. So if I'm on the grid view, there are a couple of options here. You can click on the single view or go to my book itself, which will take you back to the teacher's board. And you can always look at the title of the board here, the instructor board, which tells you whether you're on the string board or teacher board. Okay. I think another question is, how do I fill in the shapes? Okay, so let's say that you've drawn a few shapes here. Now there's an option for selecting shapes here. You can click on that and click on this. And when you click on an object after by using the select tool, you get this option. You can also right click on that particular shape to get the same menu, and then you can pick the fill color. Let's say I pick a fill color like this, and I set it. That's it. Okay, let me jump back to that question earlier. So let's say that yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I don't think you can go back to the same page right now, Brenda. We can take that as input and add that function. It always goes back to the same page number 1.
Yeah, but you can always type in your page. Let's say one quick way to jump pages is by typing in the page number literally, if you remember what it was. And the other option you also have is there's a thumbnail view that brings up the thumbnail, so you can switch between pages also a little bit more easily that way. Right. Okay, so we addressed that, and now within the drawing tools, you also have this really cool tool called a Magic Draw. This allows you to prepare. Let's say you're a little bit more challenged from a drawing standpoint, and you'd like your pictures to look a little bit nicer. So let me switch to a blank page. It becomes easier to see that. So let's go ahead and pick Magic Draw. So let's say I would like to draw a bicycle. So I'm trying to draw a bicycle here. And so this automatically suggests that what I'm trying to draw. And so, this uses basically a machine learned the drawing to figure out what kind of a drawing you may want. And you just click on that and it replaces your drawing with that. So it's really cool. You can draw some really nice looking pictures by just drawing a few doodles here. Right? And then in the text area, we have a lot of tools in terms of just click and draw. So you can just press on this and then type in some text. Now, there are ways that we cover in our advanced webinar where you can have the text box also take in input in terms of voice and even in different languages. So definitely check the advanced webinar for that. We also have the ability to put the rich text in there. So let's say you'd like to have your students type in a little more in terms of compositions and so on. then it helps to have a larger, a little bit more well formatable text box here, right? So this is a rich text box. Right, and then we have the ability to even detect handwritings, and actually what's more interesting is what's actually more popular, as I would say, is a math editor. So we have this feature to type in some pretty complex math here. So let's say you can type in some nice equations like this, and so on, right? So, and then if you need help about math, click on this area, which is the help section. And we have a math input guide here. So if you click on that, it should launch. You should be able to get some help on how to enter different types of math equations here. So pretty comprehensive feature set here. All right, let me switch back to a board. Any questions, Pawan?
Yeah, one question. I use
Yeah.
the text box for answers, but student could not type. What do I need to do?
Okay, maybe I can demonstrate on how to do that. So let's say I go here and I say text box. Now, let's say I put in a text box here. How about I do this? Let me move it. Okay, after this one. Oops. Let's scroll up. So let's scroll up. Let's see it, and I put a text box here to type in the answer. So let me just add another text box here. Now, if I select on this text box, I can add answers and points. So let's say I add 10 points for this answer, and the answer is going to be 11. Save it. Now let me switch to the student view. Now that was page number 5. So the student can switch to page number 5 here. Right. And now if the student clicks on this, they should be able to type in, like you see, this is a flashing cursor here. So if I type in say 12, right, the student should be able to type in that. And now what the teacher can do is, if you click on the 3-dot menu up here on the top right, there's a way to apply auto correction. So you click on that. As I see the student's view, the student gets a score out here which says, okay, the teacher applied our auto correction count. So the teacher did that, tried to do auto correction once, and the answer was incorrect. And so you scored 0 out of 10. Let's say the student now changes this answer and corrects it. Now if the student does autocorrect, the teacher does autocorrect again. There you go. Now the student got the right answer, got the right score, and you can see. So this correction count also tells you how many times the autocorrect was done. You can also add a way for students to do autocorrection on their own boards. This is actually, I'm moving a little bit ahead to the sort of advanced webinars kind of things, because there's a way for student, if I go into, so let me switch to the teacher board, and in the widget section, there's a way to add a link, or rather, yeah, I think add a link. And you can use this link for different types of operations. So typically add linking is also used for providing a link to provide a button for students to go to another website, just as a reference, but you can also use it for auto correcting and say, you want to say, and so if I add this button here, as the teacher, I can add the button, and that gives the student the ability to check their own answers. So let's say the student types in another answer and then checks this. Student will have to go into small movie. This button, sorry. There you go. And then of course, so incorrect answer, and so the answer wasn't received correctly. Like, any other question?
Yes, Sid, I think there's a question about the text box without the answer, I think you
Yeah.
just need to correct. If the students are in move mode, they cannot type in the text
Yeah.
boxes. You just have them click the T button, which is the text mode.
Text box. Yeah.
So then they can edit the
Yeah,
text
so
boxes.
so in case of this text box which I applied up here, I did not add any answer there. So if the student can just click on write and then go here, that should allow them to type in any text they want. Right? And another thing, a quick tip is that this little indicator up here on the right corner up here tells you what sort of what mode you're in. So right now this is in an insert link mode. So if I click on this on the board, it will insert a link. The same way for the student as well. The student had picked this operation, so it's in text mode. If the student picks erase, it goes into erase mode and so on. So it gives you an indication of which mode you are in. Okay. Any other questions, Paul?
I think there's another question to show the autocorrect one more time from Harold.
Sure. So let me add, say, another text box here. So if I go back to the text area, is it T here? So text box for answers. And just draw a box so that the box can literally be any size you'd like. And then you go to select mode, or you can even right click on this box that brings up, sorry, maybe I click on it. Yeah, that brings up this menu. And so that's where you can specify add answers and points. And so you can give it a specific number of points. Let's say you want to give 5 points for this, and the answer is cat. Let's give small case cat. Okay. And that's it. Once the answer gets assigned to it, the board is aware of it, and then the student can go and type in. This will apply the auto correction for this and so on. Right? Okay. So we covered the text area, I think.
Hey,
Yeah.
sorry, some people joined late. Can you quickly show how do you invite students one time?
Sure. Yeah. So let's see on the top right here, you have this invite button. There are different ways in which you can invite using QR codes and so on. The most common way is to copy this particular link, which is you can click on the button itself to copy. And you can paste this link anywhere into your LMS. You can email it to your students and they can just click on that link. So now let me close this incognito window that I had here. Let me open it up and join as a student again. So as a student, all that they need to do is paste the link here. Now, yeah. So let's say student please. Okay. And so the student immediately gets a copy of their own board. And as you remember that for student Sam, we had pasted that well done sticker, and now that sticker is not there on student Lisa's board because she joined later. And of course, I had not pasted that reward sticker, but the student can continue working on their own on their assignment separately. They cannot see each other and so on, right? So that's a very obvious thing that you can see here. Now, one more thing that you might notice is that the number of tools that the student has here is very different than what the teacher has. Of course, that's intentional. The teacher has many more controls, but you may want to provide them a little bit more control. And so if you click on the top right menu and the settings menu, I have enabled students see very simple tools. So this is really useful for students who are maybe in kindergarten or even younger, so that they are not confused by and overwhelmed by a number of tools. But I can grant more access to the various tools that the students can see, and I can save that. Now I switch to the student board, and as you can see now the student has all the pretty much all the various tools that the teacher had access to. They still don't have access to the grid view and so on. Of course, that's because that's specifically for the teachers. Yeah. Any other questions, Paul?
No, sir. That's it.
Okay, cool. All right. So let's see. We covered the text section. This is just an erase mode as well. So you can either use a whiteout, which can allow you to just erase specific parts of your board. Now you got to remember that your object is still there entirely behind it. It's literally like applying, you're painting white out there. Or you can, if you want to really erase the object itself, then you can of course erase the whole object right there. And now in terms of the upload options, I showed you a few of them, which is from a computer or from your Google Drive and so on. You also have the option to upload with your phone. So that's covered in our advanced webinar, but definitely if you'd like to try it out, click on the phone scanner and then you can use your phone as a way to upload pictures and so on as well. Now, there's additional tools here where you can add media, which is add your own audio, video. You can, there's a lot more to explore here, which we do in our advanced webinar. So you should definitely join that as well. One thing I'd definitely like to cover is the grid menu, because this is very useful for mostly a lot of the math teachers. So, and of course, we call it grids, but it has a lot of different options to add backgrounds to your board. So this is a little bit of a denser grid. You also have now let's see, I'm going to switch I'm going to use grid quite often right now. I can even favorite this tool by clicking on the heart button, and that moves that particular tool up here. So I can even select the various tools, various grids from here now. So as you can see, there's way to do handwriting, there's college lined, and so on. And let me switch to a different page. I can see clearer. So one thing that's really great about college line is that if you select the text tool, then you have the ability to align your text. Maybe I selected a slightly bigger font, a slightly smaller font. There we go. So it automatically aligns perfectly with the aligned with the ruled part of your background. So it looks nicer, and students can type in longer pieces of text very nicely as well. There's of course grids for music sheets. Now, if you add things like music sheets, you can use the manipulative. So you can go to your gizmos, and here, like I mentioned before, there's now it's a little, if it gets tricky for you to find specific options, there's a search option here as well that you can use. But let's say I wanted to put music, so I can put things like this here. So you can literally have students, even writing music. You can have evaluate what their ability to read music and so on. There's tons of math options here. For example, in manipulative section, this is one of the most favorite things for most of our teachers. So that we've got different types of blocks. We've got even rulers and different set squares, for example. There's place value discs, there's number lines, tons of options that you can use. Now, a really amazing thing about these manipulatives is that you can use interesting tools like breakdown tool. So let me demonstrate what breakdown tool does. If I click on breakdown tool, and I click on this block, it breaks down this 100 block into 10 blocks, right? So you can actually demonstrate how a division works, how you can, how different larger parts become, a larger part of a smaller bricks and so on. Now the breakdown tool not only applies to these math manipulatives, but you can even go into currencies, for example. Let's say I pick the US currency, and let's say I pick a $50 bill. And click on breakdown. And that would split up currency as well. So that's really very useful. And of course, it works for different types of currencies. As you can see, we have added not only US currency, but there's quite a few international currencies. If you need any other currency to be added, please do let us know. We are absolutely open to adding new currencies as well. Any other questions? Let me pause this for a second.
Said yes, lots of questions. So
Okay.
first one, when I enable student loan, should I lock the item? Also, sometimes students cannot drag. Am I doing something wrong?
Yeah, so let me show that a little bit. That does require a little bit getting used to. So let's say I add a few coins. So let's say I add some 25 cents. Okay. And now let's try different options with this. I'm going to go to the select mode. Now when the teacher adds these coins, let me go to the student board and show you that. Yeah, so the student themselves can't do much with these coins because the teacher has added them and hasn't not by default they don't get any access to it. But let's say the teacher wants to allow the students to be able to move the coins, so you can enable the student move option. That's so the first one I've added the ability for student to move. Then I can also have give the student the ability to clone the second coin, for example. Let's see what happens with that. So now if the student goes here and clicks the select mode, the student can now move the object, right? So if you can create games using this option, and then if you want, you can also have them give them the ability to clone. So now you can tell them, okay, why don't you make $1.50, for example, and then you just give them 1/4 and tell them, ask them how to do that. So that's one set of options. And
So sorry,
yeah.
Sid, can you show that with the move and resize tool? I think that's much simpler for younger kids.
Yes,
Right.
so using the move and resize, right? So
Yeah,
so instead of the select, if you select move and resize, you can directly move the object around. You don't need to pick the option. So that becomes easier for students. And clone as well. Sorry, go ahead, Pawan.
yeah, clone.
Clone
That's
the
what
original one. Yeah. Now, another thing that I found some teachers, they find it tricky to, so for younger students, you don't want to have them go and select this move and resize, right? So what this teacher can do is, if the teacher can go to the settings menu and change the default tool to move and resize. By doing that, the students are already placed in that mode and they can easily clone that, then, so that they don't even need to change their tool if they want. Does that answer the question?
Yes, yes.
Good.
Okay, one more question. Notice the set square scale. It goes 0, 2, 3, 4. It's missing a 1.
Set square, it seems to be there. Let's
I didn't see it. Okay, another question. Do you have a compass? Can you show the compass for geometry?
Yeah. So we have in the widget section. Let's see where we are. Use compass. Put that. Okay, maybe I can use my search.
I think it's in the tools on the left.
Compass. There we go.
No, on the left.
Oh, did you put it in the left side? Okay.
Yeah, it's in the tools.
Did we lose it in one of our software changes?
It's possible.
It's possible, right? Thanks for asking the question. We do have it, and we will definitely let you know where it is. I have a feeling we put it in the register. Give me one quick check just to make sure. Maybe we did lose it. Okay, we'll put it back in. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. Yeah, any other questions?
And how do you make copies of a board for a second class?
Yeah, so now here's a few different ways you can do that. One is that you can, of course, you can save a copy. So for example, if you do that, it'll, let's say I call this another. So this automatically navigated me to this section, which I haven't talked about yet, but this is called the manage board section, which helps you create folders and also see which classrooms you had set up. And you can even open up each of the classroom boards and see which students had joined these boards, You can join the student boards from here and so on. But what I did just now was I just made a copy of my board and called it demo board 2, and that's where it got stored, right? And then I can just go back to this and then continue with my my current board. Another option, so this manage boards you can go to by clicking on this option down here. And so the other option that you have for creating a copy is by actually looking at the, let's see, I think we had a way to,
No.
we had added a way to copy it from here, right? I think.
No.
I think we had added a way to import the board from here, but maybe we could add a copy board as well. Okay, so go back to this menu. So that's one option. Now, another thing that you can, few things you can do out here is that you can send a copy as well. So let's say that you want to, you have a board that you want your other teacher colleagues to use as well. You can click on send a copy, and this gives you a way to copy a link and email it to someone. When they click on that link, they get an exact copy of your board. Now that's the original copy of the teacher's board and none of the student boards there. So they can continue to run their classroom with it, and that will have no impact on your original board and your original classroom. You can also, now we also have the ability to share with the community. So in the manage board section, there's a section for community boards where teachers can share the boards that they've drafted and composed. And we curate these boards and then make sure that they are good quality, high quality boards and suitable for you to use in your classrooms. And then, so once you're in the community board section, you can either copy the link or you can directly create a copy of that board itself. Or I think this board may have been removed by the teacher. Okay, so go back to board. But yeah, so this you can use this option to share your board with the community. I highly encourage you to do that, and do let us know if you have any questions about that. Let's see, any questions?
Yeah, more. So I found the composite. It's in the if you go under shapes, under drawing, it's there.
Oh, I see. Okay, so this one, shapes. How we put there? Okay. So I click on the compass tool. So here you've got a way to move the center around, and then you can adjust it here. You click on the green dot to start drawing. You can draw your arc. You can move the red dot to just move it around as well without drawing. So that helps. Okay.
And then immersive reader. Can you show immersive reader too, please?
Sure. So let's say that now there's a couple of different ways in which you can use the immersive reader. Let me upload maybe a PDF, for example. Let's say I upload the Huckleberry Finn PDF. There you go. I can select this PDF, and I can say that read an immersive reader. Now, while I show you that, you also have the option of adding readable text to any of the materials. So of course, now if I click on this, it will start reading it, but you may not hear anything because I've got my headset on. Yeah, so that's one way to use the immersive reader. Now you can also do certain very interesting things. Like for example, if I draw, let's say a shape, right? Let's say I draw a rectangle here. Okay, and I can select, and I can change this. I can edit the text associated with this object and say, and now if I select this object and I read an immersive reader, it will actually give you, read out exactly what the text that you assigned to that object. Of course, you can always type in text as well. And then select that and read an immersive reader as well. So that's another way to, few different ways for you to address that accessibility feature.
The immersive reader works for French?
Yes, you can translate. So of course you can do the translation within whiteboard.chat. And in immersive reader, there's a way to also specify which language you want. So let's see. Yeah, we go. And then if I were to play that, then by document, you can have it translated and then read that out as well.
Right. So another teacher is asking, not sure what is an immersive reader. Does it read aloud for students?
Exactly. So let me do that. Let's read that. If I press the play button.
Hello there, students.
Yeah, so it reads it out for you. Any other questions?
No, that's it.
Any other question? Okay, cool. So I think we've covered at least most of the tools here. So move and resize we've covered. There's a few options which are useful for tablets. For example, panning around, so you can drag the board around. You can select multiple objects by using this lasso tool. So if I want to select both of these and let's say delete these together, I can do that. There's also some really fun things that we've added here. So for example, for the holiday season, you can click on this and this is good fun for students to just take a little bit of a break during class. Now there's some additional rich features that I think we do have a little bit of time to cover, but so if you click on the participants panel, there's a lot of stuff that you can use here. First is that, like I said, that you can rename yourself. So let's say I rename the board with my real name. I can also showcase student board. So let's say Pawan had a really nice board. So I can say, okay, let me showcase that to my students. Right. And so let's say that I think Pawan's first board was pretty cool. So let's say that. And so when I showcase that student and I go to my student's board, you can see that it's saying showcasing student board. And you can see this, so the teacher can sort of do a show and tell. Now that student response added that little Iron Man, the baby Iron Man. Let me go back to my teacher board. And I can disable the showcase student. Now you can showcase multiple students as well. So if you want to compare and contrast, let me go back to this participants panel. Now the teacher can also lock the class. So let's say that the teacher prepares some content and would like to go over it first. So you can lock the class, which disallows any changes from students. So the student tries to write anything or draw anything that will be disabled. You can also use a timer to lock the class. So for example, if I click on this class timers button, there's a way to say that after 10 minutes, lock the boards. So that way you can have a timed assignment. You can have the students exactly work on their board for 10 minutes, and after that it will automatically lock them up, and it acts like a sort of a turn-in, right? And of course they get a countdown timer also, as you can see. In the participants panel again, you have the option of doing a follow teacher as well. So let's say that if I enable this, now if I look at the student board, it shows the same board that the teacher is on. It says follow teachers page. And if the teacher moves on to a different page, the student is automatically navigated to that page as well. Right, so it's a good way for making sure that the students are not lost on the whiteboard if you have multiple pages in the whiteboard. Then in the participants panel, we have also, just like locking the class, you can lock individual pages. And now there's a lot of interesting things in terms of creating chats and creating group boards that we can cover in the advanced webinar. But let me pause again for any questions.
Is there a way to assign a board for homework?
Yes, so you can create an assignment, and of course, yeah, that can be either a timed assignment or so on. Now, the one thing I should have clarified earlier is that you can use the whiteboard in an asynchronous mode or real time in your class as well. So if this, for example, if the teacher decides to go away from this board, let's say the teacher is now gone and is working on a different classroom, for example, the student's view is still there, right? So the student can continue to work on this board from their home on a different device as well. So you can assign them homework in that way. And so yeah, the question is, when I lock the class, what happens? So when you lock the class, essentially the board becomes a read-only board for students. So they can still flip through pages and refer to it, but they will not be able to make any changes with it.
The second one also is I lock the
Oh.
page.
Yes, no, they will have no changes will be allowed. So even if you had allowed them to move certain things or clone certain things, all changes will be disallowed. Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, so we kind of almost running out of time. I still want to take some time to answer any other questions that you have. If not, there's another thing that we typically do like to cover is that maybe introduction to using whiteboard through Teams. So let me do just a quick preview of that as well. This is just my Teams interface. In case your school uses Teams, this might be a good way for you to use whiteboard.chat. Now, just to orient you a little bit here, for my demonstration, I have created two different classrooms. One is a grade 8 math classroom and a grade 8 science classroom. And let's say I want to add, create a whiteboard assignment and then give it to, assign it to either of these classrooms. Right? So first you can click on apps and then search for whiteboard.chat. You see it. So you can get the typical introduction that you are familiar with seeing in any Teams app. You can open that. And this automatically opens up a personal tab for you. Now, in this case, I was already logged in, so you can, it already shows me my board that I created earlier. So either you can log in using Teams, or you can even use your same login that you're using outside Teams for this. So here I've created a really simple board. It's just a simple elementary school sort of subtraction board, right? And let's say I'd like to assign it to one of my classrooms. Obviously, it's not a grade 8 level assignment, but still, let's work on that. So I go to Teams, and now you have the ability to, let's say I've joined one of my advanced channel. Okay, so and I can assign this board by clicking the plus icon up there. Click on whiteboard.chat app. Few clicks to go through, and now you can pick the board that you would like your students to see in this particular tab. So I can select simple subtraction. And once I open this particular board, it gets assigned to this tab. Right. So if I were to switch over to my student view, so I have a student view opened in Safari. This is my student, and I think I just added that to my grade 8 math class in the advanced section. So I'm going to go to the grade 8 math class in the advanced section. And this is the board that was just added. So the student can just click on that and be able to see the board that was assigned to them. So this is a subtraction assignment. So this is one way to interact with your students if you're in a classroom setting. But let's say you would like to assign this as homework, then you can go to the assignment section. And I'd like to create a new assignment. Let's see, assignment. This is the student section. The teacher's board, assignments, create assignment. I'd like to, let's say I'll create in the science section now. And then make sure that you click on the apps. With the whiteboard.chat app. And then you can select the board that you would like to assign. And to assign that. And now just from the student's viewpoint, fact, the student gets notified. There's a new assignment in the science division B in general. So the student can go to Teams, navigate to the science. And in general, they can see this assignment. So now it says view assignment. And then click on this board to see the assignment. So now we sort of out of time, but there's also the ability for you to bring in a whiteboard into Teams when you're in a meeting. So let's say you're running a classroom in a Teams meeting, then you can also add whiteboard.chat as an app there now. So Microsoft calls it share to stage. So in case you're familiar, then you can use whiteboard.chat in Teams as well. Right? I think we're out of time, so let me stop the video for now, but we can still continue to take any questions and so on.